Well, here we are, 88 rusty Chevrolet pickup truck, half ton with the world famous 700 R4 automatic transmission, and they come from the factory with automatic problems. So, for the first of our multiple upgrades and improvements that we can do to this trans, I'm going to show you how to properly install the Corvette style high performance second piston servo upgrade. It starts with popping the hood, because transmission will lose some fluid when you pop the servo cover off, so you're gonna have to obviously add fluid to it when you're finished. But we'll start with jacking up the passenger side of the vehicle as high as you can get it, because fluid runs downhill, and if you can get it to the right angle, it may not lose as much as it usually does. So we'll start with jacking this thing up, and we'll go from there. Well, once you get your vehicle jacked up, mine's not very high because obviously I've got the little lame jack over there with some boards. So we're doing this poor man style. Generic transmission fluid, engine ultra slick, AutoZone brake cleaner, and a screwdriver. Now hopefully this is about all the tools we'll need. So you take your screwdriver, take your creeper, and you go underneath the passenger side, and right there's the servo looking right at us. And you want to pop the retaining ring out so that cover will move freely. And it'll probably take some vice grips or channel locks to get that thing actually to come out, but I'm not very skilled with the camera and I can't do all this at once, so I guess I'll see you after I get that out of there. Now, once you get this cover off right here, you can see the inside of the servo, and that disc that you're looking at right at the top is the fourth apply piston, and then underneath that's the second apply piston, and built in there is a third gear, I guess you could call it accumulator. There's a big cushion spring in there that softens that shift for you, which is, in my opinion, very stupid. So we'll be sure to remove that and shim it so that it shifts a little better. But you can pull out, there's the fourth piston, and be sure you pay attention to how this stuff comes out, because you cannot reassemble it incorrectly, because then you'll have a bunch of problems, and they like to get stuck in there otherwise. So you can just do a little convincing, get the thing to break loose. There, I got it to turn. Maybe it'll come out. Yeah, I may have to put the camera down. In fact, I'm going to. Be back after I get that out of there. Okay, it took the vice grips and a little prying, but it popped loose. So now you just grab it by its pin here, and watch out for the fluid that flows out. And the spring may or may not come with it. When you take it out, that's just the return spring for, when you apply the gear and when it releases. But you want to go ahead and take all this stuff out. Lay it on your clean professional work area. And we will proceed to disassembly in a second here. Look at that spring for a minute, tell me what you think. Alright, now, I have already actually done the upgrade with the parts change itself. But you can find these parts name brand from like TRANSGO or somebody for 20 or 25 bucks. But I wanted to tear back into it to clean up some of the slop I've got. I got a bunch of slop. But I can show you what the difference actually is real quickly between the pistons. Here's what came stock, and you can see the center cone piece, how large diameter it is compared to its upgrade. How it's got a much smaller center cone here. And what happens is this area down here is where the oil comes in, the high pressure oil, to apply second gear. It hits the surface and it presses against the piston, which locks the band down against the drum. So their idea was to give it a bigger surface area here, make this smaller, so you got more apply area, more force. So if you take out the accumulator or shim it up a little bit or put a softer spring in it, it'll hit this piston harder and it'll give you a more positive shift feel. I mean, you can get to the point where it'll bark the tires back here because it can hit this piston so hard. And then third gear, there's a spring underneath this cover and a snap ring. Now, I mean, it's a healthy ass spring, but when it goes into third, it pushes this back and applies oil here, which cushions the third shift. So I took the spring out, and I'm going to take this back apart and show you, how to shim it up properly. And then the last piece that sat on top of here, it releases third and hits fourth, and it just pushes the piston on the end of the shaft here, which pushes it all back in and applies fourth gear. So, let me get a screwdriver. Need a nice, fine blade, flat blade screwdriver. And this is probably not going to be easy I'll make it easy. Gently clamp that in the vise. And then you want to pop off your E-clip right here. And that'll just slide right on out. E-clip, washer, and spring. And then you can slide your piston right on off. Flip it over. And then we'll clean up this pin later, obviously. Now, I'm about to set the camera down to remove the snap ring, but if you look closely, you'll see the opening right here. And right here's the other end of the opening. You just want to pop it up and out of there. And if the spring is still in it, which it will be if you haven't touched yours yet, you want to set it in a vise, like what I have here, and clamp it down gently enough just to compress it where you can get this into the snap ring out, and then you just walk it on out. So, since I don't have a spring, I shouldn't have to put it in a vise. Yeah, just like that. Once you get it started, you can kind of just walk her right on out of there. And then, once you got it started, just snap her on out. Roll her over, and there'll be some fluid in there, obviously. That's what it'll look like. This piece will come right on out. And then here's your snap ring. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray these parts down with my AutoZone brake cleaner, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, here we are. I cleaned up all the parts here, and I've got two washers, identical size, I'm going to use to shim this thing up. And, my God, it's imperative that you make sure that when you're doing this, things have got to be clean as a freaking whistle. You don't want not even a cat hair in here, because if it travels its way through and gets hung up in one of the spool valves in the valve body, or gets stuck in the governor, it can cause nightmarish problems. So I'm just trying to, just beat it into everybody's heads, I guess. So, alright, I'm gonna grab the piston here. Wipe it off again. Alright, now the pin goes into the transmission this way, so if you want to take your new second piston, and I'll put one washer right here. Well, actually, no, this washer right here. Make sure it slides over the actual pin itself, which it does just fine. So we'll lay this here, and then that sets right on there, and that washer's just thick enough to shim that up so there's no more clicking in there. And then I'm going to set the pin on just to keep it aligned. And now I'm going to reinstall this snap ring, which will be fun with the camera. And you want to start one side end with your fingers and walk it around till you're about, I'd say, 70% in, and then you can take a screwdriver and just finish it off. And you'll know it's in when, you know, it'll actually physically click in, and you can examine it, poke with the screwdriver, make sure it's seated in there all the way, which it is. And then it sits on the pin just like that, big end down towards the part that goes onto the band. And then with a little bit of transmission fluid, you want to lube up this area where the cone or cover, whatever you want to call it, cone area slides onto the piston like that. And then another washer. Well, I gotta find a different washer. But so far it's just assembled like this. Here's the part that goes in the band, that second piece with the big O-ring on it, the little Teflon seal right there, and then we're going to put another washer down on there underneath the spring, and then we'll put the factory spring back on, and then the E-clip, and that'll clean up a bunch of the slop we've got. So we'll find a suitable washer. We'll slide straight on down there. Then we'll set the spring on like that. Then the washer, the factory sized washer that sits on a little recess just under the groove for the E-clip, and then you just snap the E-clip on like that. And then the fourth piston, you want this nub sticking up like that. So when it's all back together, it looks just like that. And be sure the nub's out. I'm pretty sure when I took it apart, the nub was not out, which I'm not really sure why it was like that, but there you go. And when you go to put it back into the bore and the transmission, make sure that this spring is installed on the shaft. That's imperative. And make sure you lube all the seal areas. Install it back in the trans. You may have to do a little bit of convincing. And then make sure the servo cover's in all the way, and reinstall the retaining ring. And once you get it back into the transmission and the retaining ring installed, you gotta make sure you get the retaining ring in all the way, otherwise you'll have some serious issues. Like, it'll try to blow the servo out of the side of the trans, and when it does that, it could get caught, or the best way I could put it is, you know, wedged in there. And if it gets wedged in there, it could cause damage to the servo, it could cause damage to the bore, and it could cause you to need to get another transmission case, or worse. So now I'm going to top off tranny fluid. It's about a half a quart low. So and you just do the standard procedure with, filling up the tranny fluid. Start the engine up, check it, run it through the gears, check it, make sure you've got your gears, and while you're at it, look at that servo. Excuse me. Make sure it hasn't blown out yet. It shouldn't blow out at idle and park because I don't think there's any fluid pressure on it, but still, it doesn't hurt to check. And then fill her up. And pour in a half a quart or so, and then stick the dipstick down in it, run it through the gears, pull the dipstick out, check it, and fill accordingly. But I'm pretty sure since I had it sitting up at an angle that helped out a lot on it losing a bunch of fluid. Didn't lose very much fluid when I did it. In fact, that's all it lost. So I'm going to take her on a road test. Make sure I've still got, first, second, third, fourth. And we'll test to see how it's feeling. That should be a little better than what it was. And hopefully it turned out enough. Now, just for the record, I have done some other minor valve body modifications in addition to this servo. I got a good reverse, rolling back in neutral, got good neutral, drive, got a good engagement in drive, third, second, first, put it manual second. I'm pretty sure it actually goes into second gear. I'm not 100% on that. I didn't hear the servo explode out of the side, so I think it's in all the way. I felt it click, so roll the window up now, freeze to death. And get out of the garage. Without hitting that. There we go. It's just idling fast because it's cold. Get in the driveway here. Pull it manual first, good engagement. Take her on up down the road and see how it feels. Alright, dude. And it's running like normal in first gear. I'll wait to get on the road before I shift in a second because the driveway's a sheet of ice. Maybe the road's a sheet of ice too. Alright, now here we go. Really good second. Good third. It's a much better third. Let's see if I can't get overdrive out of it. Much better overdrive, tag on. Back shift third, second, first. Valve body appears to be working absolutely perfect. And our servo upgrade is good. Glad that went good. So, hope that helps somebody out. Good luck with your 700s.